can't. So I almost didn't show up, everybody.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I was not.
Just so y'all know, I completely forgot. And I am so glad that DeVika is here and that my calendar reminders were on point. I missed them all. I'm so sorry. Oh, good stuff. But because I did not show up on time, I don't know what we're talking about. DeVika, have at it.
Awesome. So it's kind of great because um, as you know, right, and some people may know, not only do we've talked about the Cuddle Sutra, we talked about that last week, um, and the other thing is that part of my training comes from being a certified cuddle party facilitator, and we kind of talked about that. And what we're going to be talking today really comes from that conversation. So I would have had to come and tell you, hey, look, we're going to talk about this today. And what we're really talking about when we had a cuddle party call with the cuddle party facilitators, we were doing like a check-in, and we were just really looking at like what services outside of cuddle party does cuddle party provide. And we were talking, the call got very swiftly centered on something that, might seem odd for a sexologist to handle. And we will not be going into it deeply in this time frame. Um, but what's going on in Palestine came up. And we were really just talking about what, if anything, is our role. What, if anything, does cuddle party provide? What, if anything, do people in these kinds of industries, relationship coaching, what do we provide for people? And we talked about diversity, we talked about safe spaces, we talked about a lot of different things. And what I'm here to share with you and with the group, and I know that as soon as I say this, you'll say, oh yes, what we really provide is effective listening. What we really provide is a space for people to be heard and really gotten and recreated, and that who they are matters. And that is really the work of being a sexologist, you know, um, is to be in a space where people do feel whole, people do feel heard, people do feel seen, they do feel um, accepted. And I'm flipping pages because, as you know, I am in a very deep 10-week seminar for the master seminar for sex and intimacy, because I'm constantly getting myself trained and developed. And one of the things I get trained and developed in is communication and listening, and, developing myself as a clearing. And in this seminar, we were asked, like, what are we taking on in the seminar? What's at stake for us at the seminar? Um, and I realized that transforming lives is at stake. That's what's always at stake for me. But really, what I wrote down was, what's at stake for me is a world in which people truly experience themselves as being at home with themselves, as themselves, and that whomever they choose to share that home with also feels at home. And I really am just wanting people who don't have that experience and they're not sure what to do or what to say about what's happening or what's not happening. And it doesn't have to be what's going on in Palestine. It could be what's going on in your family. It could be what's going on in your relationship. It could be what's going on with your friendships. It could be what's going on in your neighborhood. One of the things that you could really do is listen. A lot of people, they're like, I don't know what to do. You don't need to do anything. What you can actually do is listen. Listening informs our speaking. Speaking informs what we create. What we create informs our actions. So if people are not listening, if people are not actually really being careful about who they listen to and how they listen, you're not going to actually help anything, much less what's going on in the world as it is right now. And there were just, we spent 2 hours really talking about the power of listening, the power of listening to someone, whether you agree or disagree, and the power in not needing to do anything other than to just let them be heard. A lot of people right now are hurting. They're hurting because they haven't been heard. They're hurting because they haven't been seen. They're hurting because they don't feel at home in their own bodies or in their own experience. And when we don't feel at home in our own bodies and our own experiences, we tend to lash out at others who do occur to feel at home in their bodies and in their experiences. Or we occupy those homes and those bodies and those experiences, and we rule over those bodies, those homes, and those experiences. Because if we don't feel at home, then nobody should feel at home, right? And again, this isn't about who's right, who's wrong, who's left, who's this, who's this. It's about really what, as a sexologist, what skill do I have to offer people right now? And the skill that I have to offer people right now is listening, is to really actually listen to what people are dealing with, what they are going through. And you don't have to do anything. That's one of the beautiful things that I've learned in the last 2 years is that if you really listen to someone, there will actually be nothing to do. They will walk away whole, perfect, and incomplete, and complete, and experiencing themselves as whole, perfect, and complete in their own experiences simply because someone heard them. I promise you, there will be very little for you to do, very actually fewer actions, because most people are walking around not being heard. And I don't just mean like, hey, blah, 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 let me hear what you have to say, and really not listening, but like getting their sadness, getting their commitment, getting what they're afraid of, um, and listening, you know, um, because to take actions without conversation is to go out by yourself and to make choices. And, that's a certain amount of privilege. But to also speak without listening is to actually only want to, say what you want to hear, not actually what's being said by others. But the most powerful thing you can do right now is just listen. So I'm going to pause and see if you have anything to say, because I know I kind of threw you between all of that, right? What would you say?
Well, that was when you first, were talking about what can you offer, what can you contribute, what can the cuddle party space bring. The first thing that comes to mind is contributing. When and like you said, so it was brought up last week by some people who watch our lives, and they were like, when you get live with DeVika, you don't say anything. And I say a lot less in this live than I do the others because my portion of this live is to contribute. When we thought about when we do the lives, it's really how can both of the companies that are coming together create a live that promotes one another, creates a space for each other. And when it comes to the space of sexology, how does a business accountability coach help that? Right? Well, one, this business came out of your business, first of all. And second of all, inside of the relationships that I have built, inside of the courses that you build, and inside of the things that you are doing in the world and creating in the world, every time I show up, I contribute. Every time you show up, you contribute. And so that's why it was a no-brainer, sexology and contributing to others. And so when you started speaking, that was that key point, right? How can I be helpful? I can contribute. And we know I'm a doer. I'm not a beer.
Yet, we're working on it. We're working on it.
We're working really hard on that. Um, so when you look at the word contributing, there's a being and a doing to that word. I can be supportive by listening. I can be a contributor by allowing you a safe space to exhale and puke, whether it's politically correct, whether it's
Comfortable.
morally correct. What, whatever that conversation is, I can be a safe space for you to express your emotions, because our emotions are not always political, moral, or look, somebody I know, their ex passed away, and I requested they send me their karma. You don't have to be. Look, your level of petty, but having a safe space to have that level of petty, and then say it online. Look, having a safe space to have that level of petty, the intention isn't what that level of petty might sound like. The intention isn't where that space could be, but the contributing to somebody so that they don't have to hold that guilt or shame or that embarrassment of I had that thought, right? You can safely share that. And when you're in that space, no matter what the political realm was, we were in a conversation and a lot of people are looking at the Palestine from two different areas. And somebody came into the room and they were like, hey, there's three parties to this conversation. When you're able to open up and be a safe space, you're able to learn more than what you were originally looking at. You're able to actually say, you know what, you're right. And what about all the millions of peoples inside of those three things that we're even talking about? So I love that that's your topic today, and that's really what you're bringing to the table is, as a sexologist, people get to come to you and be open and honest and complete in their thoughts. As a safe space, or somebody who is, I'm going to use this word and I probably shouldn't, if you're an ally, I shouldn't use this word this week, but if you're an ally,
An
how do you
ally,
view
an
that?
advocate, an abolitionist. There's lots of words. We went over that one time, right? But wherever you find yourself.
Yeah, so where you find yourself is really the importance of that. And I think that that is a great conversation to be had and a great thing to point out, to be inside of that space.
Yeah. And to provide that, thank you for that. And to provide that space for people. Right now, there are people who don't know what to say. Then, if you don't know what to say, respectfully, shut up. It's a novel concept, but you don't have to say anything. You could really, and well, what about the people who want me to post? Then post, you know what? I don't know anything about this. So until I actually know what has me feel comfortable, I'm going to refrain from saying anything. However, on a level of humanity, my heart goes out to people. Like, that's a human, this is a human experience we're having right now. And so I'm really proud of my colleagues over at Cuddle Party who were like, hey, we're coming to talk about what I don't even think that was the intention of the call. It's just who we are as facilitators and people, is how do we provide gentle social justice? How do we provide soothing spaces for people? How do we provide holistic healing? How do we provide that? And right now, you want to really be looking at the people who can ask those questions, because there's a whole bunch of other questions you could be asking. How do I benefit from this? How do I avoid this? How do I exploit this? How do I resist this? None of those things is going to move it forward. None of those things are going to bring peace. What will bring peace is listening. Not listening to agree, not listening to disagree, not listening to fight, not listening to not listening to placate, but actually listening. Listening for the impact, listening for and to the harm that's being done. Not choosing a side. Choose a side of humanity that says people shouldn't have to live the way that people are being asked to live right now. And then listen to the impacts of that pain. And that's what I can on behalf of, the cuddle party people that I was there, I won't list any facilitators, but on behalf of the clearing I just left, what we're here to offer you is just healing, listening, and just peace of mind, and just a safe space to be quiet, to say nothing, and to still be heard. So that's what
I
I.
love that.
Mm,
Thank you, DeVika. And yeah, DeVika is a safe space in many areas, and as well as, showing up to allow them the conversation of how can we be a safe space and is it just listening is phenomenal. Everybody, we have QR codes over here. QR codes. This I will mess it up, and I should just learn. I point to Charlie's picture. QR codes on this side. But then that's Charlie's picture too. I just confused myself. The QR codes. Everybody, we have 10 other episodes. Join in, go watch them, connect with us. We would love to see how we can contribute to you and how we can really help you with just those clearings. And if you have questions on how can you contribute, or if you see somebody who possibly needs somebody to be a sounding board for, we can help you with that approach if you're concerned about that. Thank you, everybody. QR codes, and we'll talk to you next time.
bye.